So when I say inner core, what I want you to remember is the transverse abdominis, okay? So the transverse abdominals is the draw-in muscle. So when we get our pelvis in neutral, and everybody can try it at home, then we want to be able to send a message from our brain to draw our belly button towards our spine, and then we can poke on it and make sure that that is nice and tight, okay? So the action you should feel is this, and I'm going to actually let my stomach out and get gross. I can't stand that. And then watch my hands. I'm going to engage the transverse abs like this, okay? So it's a drawing in. Then running from our pubis kind of around to the back, like a hammock, we have the actual pelvic floor musculature. And its action is to actually raise up, lift kind of between your legs up. No else way to say it, you guys. Lift your lady parts up, okay? So you want to feel that rise. So I'm just going to be a little gross. Be gross with me and then I won't feel so bad. You can actually feel down just beyond your pubis bone, and you should be able to draw the pelvic floor up. When we contract the transverse abs and the pelvic floor, there's something really cool that happens neuromotorly, and that is that we're actually able to turn on the multifidus, which is every single little teeny muscle inside the spine. So you got to think of your lower core unit as kind of like the on button for those spinal stabilizers. So when we get the inner core unit going, we're going to have transverse abs, pelvic floor, and multifidus firing all at the same time. I think it's pretty easy what we just went through, where we contract the transverse abs and then we contract the pelvic floor. I think what's difficult is keeping that on. Okay, so we can do it at a level 10. So everybody try a level 10, meaning full on contraction. Transverse abs, pelvic floor, and multifidus comes on, right? Now let it all the way out and don't contract anything. Okay, now turn it on at a 3. That's where we should be all the time. When we walk, even when we're sitting at our desk, we should have, these are the postural muscles. These are the ones that hold us up. We shouldn't be in our shoulders with all this off. We should have that little 3, and that's what holds us up. So try it again, let it all out. Level 10, you should feel that vagina squeezing together, abs coming in, pelvic floor lifting up. Sometimes the musculature, if you're really strong, can kind of run into each other. Relax everything else, which is sometimes hard. Okay, now let it all go, and we're going to go at a 3. That's your stability. Because I want to introduce tonight the concept of surging. So when we go to the gym, I know we've talked a lot already about being, railroad tracks with the feet. We've been neutral pelvis, soft knees, wall posture. But the concept of surging is when we think about our bicep, we want to send that same signal to our transverse abs, our pelvic floor, and multifidus, our inner core unit. So when you come up and you do the hard part of the curl, I want you to surge and turn the rest of everything we talked about on, the inner core. So it would be a breathe in, and you would let it out to about a 3. When you exhale, you give it a 10. Okay, and it doesn't matter what the exercise is, give it a surge at a level 10. I'm doing my transverse abs and pelvic floor and shoulders, all at the same time. What you'll feel is more intensity to the muscle that you're lifting, and you're going to feel the intensity in the core unit. So it's basically like you're using those muscles every single repetition. Go try that. You guys are going to find that is really difficult to do. And that the body starts to cheat when you turn on the proper stability muscles. So if you were stabilizing with your ankle and then you went to surge that, you would be more aware of what was happening in the foot. Now let's just talk about the inner core unit in our daily life. So say I'm headed to my desk, which I don't even work in a desk. When I'm seated, I always want to have that level 3, transverse abs and pelvic floor, and then I rest everything else. Because this inner core unit can completely hold up our pelvis, which is the center of gravity for the body. And when I get up, neutral pelvis, level 3 contraction, and I keep that on when I'm walking, when I bend over to do something. So we kind of think of when we're just standing here that our muscles are off, but somebody knock me out and you'll find out how quick that there are muscles on. So when we're just doing our driving, our sitting, our standing, our, everything except for sleeping, we want to have a little bit of contraction of that muscle group. What position do I have to get in to draw the transverse abs up against gravity? Prone, face down. Yep. So you can start here if you don't feel it, because we're a little bit against gravity, and just try to put your hand on your stomach, even if it has no feeling, because I bet the transverse abs is still intact, even from a tummy tuck. You can draw it up against gravity and just kind of feel that pull up, almost feel like you have pretend weights right there, and pull them up. And if you want it to be more challenging, you just keep working your way down. Transverse abs off, transverse abs on. And then somebody out there who's a regular exerciser, try it in the plank position with wall test posture for the spine. Most people can plank all day like this, but here, with the transverse abs on, it's much more difficult. And this, you can also practice it here. There are a lot of people, you guys, that are just super numb down here. We get pretty destroyed down here with kids, or even just any type of weight gain. We're not meant to expand so much, and things can actually tear. So when they tear, our body knows that that's an injury, and it stops sending the nerve and blood activity there. Or if you've had a surgery that's cut those things. But that doesn't mean that you cannot restore feeling, and it doesn't mean that you can't work on the posture, and it doesn't mean that you can't fire the muscles. They're still in there. One thing you can do is get on the ball like this, and what I'm going to activate is an actual surface muscle that runs all the way from the pubis, basically up to your xiphoid process, okay, the rectus abdominis. But if you snuggle in like this, and I'm resting very comfortably on my back, and my butt is just off the ball, and I'm holding my hands in my head because I don't want to have a neck contraction. Now, it looks like a butt exercise, just pulling up the lower abdominals like this, but I'm not contracting my glutes. So see the difference? My glutes are off, and that's what it looks like on. So I'm not pushing up my glutes, I'm pulling up with my lower abs. And I always explain this, like, pretend like you have a tail, and the goal is to pull the tail over your head using these lower abs. This is a really good way to start to get those surface muscles that are cut in C-sections. I'm doing an intentional transverse abs, but let me tell you, it's just a co-contraction at this point, because gravity is in the wrong place to resist against gravity for the transverse abs. The transverse abs is now actually assisted by gravity, so I'm having to intentionally contract it, okay? So I am doing that. I'm getting the transverse abs contraction, and I'm squeezing the pelvic floor, and then I'm using this primary mover here, which is the lower part of the rectus abdominis, to achieve this little mini contraction. As you can see, the glutes are off. So if you have something that's paired, then it really is just like a total mind screw to try to unpair it. So I like to turn the right thing on and just go ahead and let the cheating muscle try, and then do everything I can to turn it off. So in that particular exercise, you would contract the lower rectus and then slowly try to just turn off the glutes, but keeping this. And you can always tap and poke on the muscle you're trying to keep contracted to give it a little bit of biofeedback. And you can do that with anything. So like if you can contract your transverse abs and you feel your back muscles come on, that's something you're gonna have to unpair. Versus when I say contract your inner core, we're pairing those muscles together. I know there's so many people that it's either all on or all off. So just try to come in with the transverse abs like just a little, and then in your mind, will the back to go off. And even if the abs go off a little, just kind of coax them back on and then release in that back. So you can have compensating muscles anywhere, and they're very hard to unpair. It takes about 30 days of focus to get something unpaired, and that's with really, really focusing on it.